This is a weird game. Touhou Kobuto is one of the first Touhou fan games to ever be released on consoles, and taking a peek at the reviews, yikes, that doesn't look too hot. When it first released, people were talking about it like it was pumpkin spice coffee, but nowadays people struggle to comprehend what you mean by Touhou Kobuto. I asked myself, what killed this game? Why does it have Koishi? Does it even exist? Thankfully, I have found all the answers to these questions. Shall we? Touhou Kobuto is a fighting game released back in 2010 at Comic-Con 79. It is a small and simple game featuring the cast of embodiment of Scarlet Devil duking it out in a 3D fighting arena. There are two releases that I will focus on, but starting with the PC release, well, it features a story that I can't even read. But in the localized version, it follows the tale of Youmu being distraught that there are rumors around Genso that she was apparently helping yokai cause damage to the world, instead of getting donations on her failing shrine. So she sets out to go and confront the Scarlet Devil mansion and figure out this mess. Of course, she beat up all the embodiment of Scarlet Devil characters and eventually solved the incident peacefully. Mostly. It's a simple story that barely passes for this game. However, if you wanted a more epic story, there's always the other characters. Rumiya, Sakuya, Mailing, the whole bunch is here. To summarize their stories, Rumiya, spelled as Lumia for whatever reason, had a strange dream of seeing a giant dumpling walking around. Cirno and Dialse saw a giant monster, so she felt it was her duty to kill it and protect Genso as the strongest fairy of them all. Mailing was asleep as per usual. That was until she heard from Rumiya and Sakuya that Flandra went missing. Sakuya was going to be busy preparing for a party, so Mailing was the one to search for her. Patchouli woke up to find out all of her books in her library were scattered in a mess? Oh no. Her and Kokuma were in a maze, but Patchouli is set on finding the culprit. Flandra was overlooking Rumilia and Patchouli performing a strange ritual, so she wanted to join. Patchy and Rumilia deny her request, so she goes big baby rage mode since she felt left out thanks to the experiment. Rumilia was having the time of her life since she has a new pet. Thanks to Patchouli, she has a strange Yukkuri that she must learn to take care of. Knowing Rumilia, the pet escapes, so she must find it for her own reputation. Sakuya was enjoying her day until Rumilia orders her to find the pet. It sounds simple on paper until knowing that Reimu must not find out that this Yukkuri exists. So with Mailing asleep, Sakuya sets out to find Rumilia's pet. Sadly, there are no playable Kokuma or Dialse, so that's 1 point against Kobuto. Somehow, all of these stories are connected together via Rumilia's pet, the Yukkuri. You will encounter a Yukkuri fight throughout any of these stories. If you have ever played a visual novel like Umineko or Doki Doki Literature Club, then it should be familiar seeing PNGs behind a wall of text. It appeals to some people, but then there comes people like me who just skip the story and get to the meat of the game, the fighting. Ooh. People love fighting games. Touhou Kobuto is a fairly easy game to learn on the contrary, and if my sorry ass can get all the achievements in the game, then I think you can too. The game was inspired by Cyber Troop's Virtual and Oratorio Tangram, an average Sega Saturn game that remains mostly forgotten. A side-by-side comparison shows that Kobuto definitely took some inspiration from somewhere. The attacks are no exception. All the characters have 3 types of attack: sub, charge, and main attacks, which all have their place in battle. You can compare it to Hazelden Soku, but in Kobuto, you can have input patterns in order to activate larger attacks. I mean, you got a ball, a stream of balls, and laser! There are up to 30 combinations of attacks which you can perform combining the regular attacks with dashing, flying, or melee styles, which is nice. But coming from a Smash loser who only knows how to spam one attack, my monkey brain fries looking at these combos. While Hazelden Soku's in 2D, Kobuto has another dimension which adds another variable into the equation. Now you must deal with a camera following you. It works as expected, thankfully. Most of the time, you would be auto-aimed on the enemy, but there's an option to manually aim though. Why? I'm sure it's possible that manually aiming is better, but for 3D fighters, it just feels weird in my opinion, likely due to my lack of skill, but sometimes BS happens where you are almost ready to melee an enemy and you just miss. You basically miss because of the camera. That's just wild, man. There's also a gauge at the bottom of the screen where you can perform a spell card. Ooh. Think of those cards from Hazelden Soku, but you can infinitely reuse it. With a simple combination, you can activate a Master Spark and kill an enemy with a simple zap. These things are very powerful when you get hit, but a simple slide to the left can render the attack useless. It still doesn't help that the characters are imbalanced. Rumiya is trash tier in this game, but Marisa and Rumilia fire out lasers and her spear that do way too much damage. I suppose spam does win games, eh? A gripe I have about this game are that the controls feel too floaty. It is especially apparent when you are jumping. It takes forever to get back down to earth. Especially not a good place to be since there are a lot of anti-aerial attacks. The only thing I can compare it to is Smash Brawl, but at the very least the movement on the ground is sharp. Sorta. Now, you might look at this game and wonder, when did it came out? It depends on what you're looking for. For PC, it released in 2010. The PC port is something that you would expect from a Doujin circle. Chibi girls and 2000s memes, truly the pinnacle of gaming. Sadly, this version is only in Japanese, but I am to assume that the story is the same in later versions. Nothing much between the modern versions has changed compared to this one, despite the ability to play as a Yukkuri in Versus mode and some minor balance updates. But for whatever reason, the people at NAS America found this game good enough to get a console port for the PS4, Vita, and Switch, and that is where I got the V part in the title from. The three ports are basically the same thing, so I'll talk about my experience with the Switch port. It was Christmas of 2017. I was looking for some Switch games since the console was brand new at the time. I found a Touhou game on the Target shelves, and as a young Touhou fan, I decided to get it with my Christmas money. I couldn't believe it. I owned a Touhou game. I played that game a lot since I had few games at the time. Comparing between the Switch and PC ports, the Switch ports have achievements, which are fairly simple to beat. Apparently there are some balance changes that only exist in this port. I think Malin got buffed or something like that. I don't know. A fun thing that apparently happened is that the art style got changed for the newer ports. It went from a chibi art style to a more mature art style, but they still look like the Pillsbury Doughboy in anime form. The thing that makes the newer ports most unique are the downloadable content. Oh no. Yes, the newer ports have DLC. It isn't Fighter Pass DLC, but at the very least, you can get two popular characters, Youmu and Koishi. They play as you expect. Youmu uses her sword and Koishi uses her Hearts and Roses attacks that are very annoying to dodge. When you get the DLC, the characters act like any other. They have their own story, their own funny dialogue, and some cool theme remixes. I never got Koishi, but I got Youmu via, special means. She plays pretty well, all things considered, though I'm not sure if she is bound, so someone will have to test that one out for me. I know that her story is about Yuko and her having a nice lunch, until Yuko find out about the mysterious Yukkuri in a newspaper, so Youmu was set off to find the Yukkuri. But for Koishi, well, let's just say she found a weird rat in the forest for whatever reason. There is more DLC where you can change the characters from their mature forms to their chibi forms, a retro skin if you will, since they fit into the PC port more. If we are talking about surreal and hilarious things to pad out the video, I like how you can change the characters' voices from a normal anime girl to Yukkuri. Another thing that is pretty nice is the music. Given it's a Touhou game, that's no big surprise.
But hey, there's a Phantasmagoria Flower View remix, let's go!
There is an arcade mode where you can play against the girls in an endless mode to see who gets the highest spot. Some poor sap got 44 or something, so if you can beat that high score and send me proof, I'll give you a cookie. Or something. I don't know, I'm out of things to say. I'll just go play the game and wait for the weekend to end.
Oh man, I'm so bored. Wait, what is that? Oh no, 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 no!